Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostle Graham Stone, to the Akim Aquaf throughout the four corners of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth to the gospel of Lord Amashak Yahweh Shai in these days and times. This is Brother Menashe, DC Camp, another small, no less for the hopeful elect. So this shutdown, is pushing people on the edge. The so-called folks that are tied into this system of the federal government, they're feeling the pinch. And the scripture tells you, man, you know what to expect in the society you're living in. All right, so it's just that the laws has laws and statutes and commandments concerning poverty, right? Concerning you know, the Israelites are not really doing that well as per the abundance of resources. All right, so not everyone has that level of abundance that they always seem to portray. But the Lord has already covered that deficiency, because at the end of the day, it's always the trial of our faith. So you see all the federal workers, that are heavily impacted by the shutdown. They have to line up at the food bank to get their daily and weekly and monthly sustenance, and it gets them by surprise that it's happening to them. But hey, when the Lord gives you a wake-up call, you have to you have to answer that call, man. That's one thing. Our people have to realize. It's not really the famine of the food that's really hurting our people. Is the lack of the proper doctrine. All right, the lack of the proper doctrine that can put their soul to rest. To have faith. All right. So let's just play the clip real quick and I get some scriptures. Because these folks, man, that pressure is kind of high when it comes to their daily their daily livings, man. So it's rough. It's rough. So whether the video plays or not, that's not the point. Is that you can read the article. So federal workers lined up around the corner outside of the Capitol Area Food Bank in Southeast Washington, D.C. on Friday after missing their first full pay check since the 24-day government shutdown began. All right. Then it says a food bank sets up specifically for federal workers provided boxed meals, household goods, and personal hygiene items to over 250 federal workers on Friday. So this is just what you know for as per DC, but it's gonna be more than that, as the numbers come in, and this stuff is nationwide. All right. According to Will Stroman, a local pastor who is helping organize a food bank for federal workers every Friday until the shutdown ends. So it's just the Lord, reminding our people that hey, you know, it's always gonna be a moment of hope. All right, it's a moment of hope, and there is no need to be stressed out, man. We've been through worse circumstances like this before, and it's only a time of preparation. It's gonna be a time of preparation, that we're gonna have to deal with. Okay, so read from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5 and 8. Because now the people are beginning to see that these politicians, man, they're just there to make life difficult for them. Okay, because at the end of the day, man, they're gonna have to deal with the consequences of being tied up to this system wholeheartedly. All right. Now, let me pull it up real quick. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and 8. It says and reads, and it says, "If thou seest the oppression of the poor and the violent perverting of judgment and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and dare be higher than they." So there is a power, the power of our people, Yasharala. You have Yahweh Bashim El Shai that on the throne, observing the oppression upon the earth, the oppression of Esau, and the oppression of the so-called white supremacy that driving people mad all over the four corners of the earth. And as those as men, men and women that believe in the Lord Hamashaki, I'm sure that believe in His gospel, you already know that at the end of the day, man, is the Most High putting us through this trial. All right, this is a trial of our faith, and you shouldn't break down in tears and fear and anger and frustration when you know you have a better kingdom coming. All right, so just know that, man, the Most High is in control. And you just have to keep your fortitude, man, fortified. You have to keep your mind grounded. Keep your feet grounded in the word of the Lord, Amashak Yahushai, because brothers have been, going through this type of situation, you know, for times and times and times, for several times, man. So you understand what it is to be short on rent, to miss a car payment, to be paying all types of fees and fines and tickets and all that stuff. So you know exactly what you have to deal with, and then you still have to go out there and preach the gospel. And there is no shame in serving the Lord, man. And then you know that your finances are taking a huge dent. It's like your finances are on a stormy sea, you know. But you just have to stay calm in the spirit. That's what it boils down to. That's what Hamashak Yahushua was always trying to make us focus on, man. Focus on your faith, not the chaos around you. All right, that's a reflection of the test that you have to go through. As long as you can pass the test, that's it. All right. So the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and 15 says that ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty, but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. All right. So one of the major reasons you have this government shut down, speaking on the carnal levels, because the super elites, they want to have their way. Okay, and these politicians have to go along with the program, whether it means denying people benefits, dividing people against each other and throwing people under the bus is just the reality on a carnal level. And then people will begin to realize that the so-called political system is not balanced. Okay, it's not fair, it's not balanced, it's not just. It's just so it has become a waste of time. You could listen to C-SPAN on a daily basis, man, and you could hear the frustration in the voice of the people that have give their all to the system. And it's only a matter of time that the Lord gives our people that nudge, to tighten up, man, and get ready for this bumpy ride, man. So whether the government opens back up on time or not, it doesn't change anything, man. The times of Jacob's trouble is going to be the real government shutdown. So the Lord is just giving us hints at what we have to be ready for, what we have to prepare for. All right. So the miscarriage of justice, the miscarriage of just judgment, is impacting people's lives, man. The harassments, the corruption, the deception. When all that adds up, man, people fall through the cracks. People fall through the cracks. That's why Jake has to keep on dealing with discrimination and oppression to this very day because the system of white supremacy that Esau wants to hold on to is not sustainable, and I'll do a lesson uh, shortly about that part, man. It depends wholly on deception and violence to keep it running, to keep it functioning, to keep the gears of white supremacy rolling. He needs to apply violence, deception, coercion, uh, what else? Whatever evil energy that Esau wants to employ, he just keeps it moving, you know, against us, man. A lot of people are getting ground up, man, with all this chaos of Esau's society, all right? So, another precept will be from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15 and 11. It says, "For the poor shall never cease out of the land." All right. So you have Gad living horribly on the reservations, man. You don't really have much news coverage about the life of the Gadites on the reservation, you know. And the so-called government agency that's tasked with supporting their well-being is just playing games. It's playing the so-called custodian, and that's just what happened, man. Our people, Gadites, have become ward of the states. Okay, in fact, all the whole nation, man, the whole tribes, man, from Judah all the way to Issachar, they become wards of the state. All right, so that's the reason why our people have to wake up, man, and realize that depending upon Esau's system, it's not feasible. That the time of our people to waking up is paramount. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 11: "For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, Thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to thy needy in thy land." So that's the commandment from the Lord, man. You cannot ignore your brother, your fellow Israelites, that's in a tight spot. It's warm body, so you have to be able to have the courage, have the faith to come up with a plan of support, a support system. That's why we all have to think about the tithes, offerings, and all that stuff, man. just to make sure brothers are okay, so that to be easier for brothers to do the ministry, do the will of the Lord. All right. But, you know, you have to have a realization, and that, you know, you don't want to focus too much on the flesh, even though we're living in the flesh. So you have to lean more on the scriptures, man. You know, that's what Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6 says. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not on thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. So it's necessary, man, that our people remember the Lord's commandments and be able to follow along with the guidelines to be of assistance, man. Because you're gonna have those of our people that want to abuse the system, and then they have no other solution that they can latch onto for a proper foundation. And that's the reason why they find themselves in that downward spiral, man. When our people abuse the system, they walk in themselves, you know, deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. Those that abuse the system, you can always tell by the way they carry themselves, man. You could tell by their countenance, you could tell by the way they conduct themselves. So it's only a matter of time that the Lord has to shake the whole nation. And then you see the difference, you know. You see the difference of of those that that are sincere, you know, fighting hard to get things right. And you're gonna see those that are fighting to continue that way of deception. So that spirit of deception is fading away, and the exposure is coming. Both for our nation, nation of Israel, and the heathen too. So it's going to be a huge awakening when the Lord begins to shake the kingdom of Esau. So Proverbs chapter 19 verse 17 says that he that had pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which he had given him he will pay him again. All right. Proverbs 19:17, he that had pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai. And that which he had given will he pay him again. So that's just the principle of the Lord Hamashaki Shai. That your works and labor of love will not go unrewarded. So another precept be from Proverbs chapter 28 verse 8. All right, this is a problem with Esau society, and the remedy, all right, of that situation. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. All right, Proverbs 28:8. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. So the wealth of the elite, whether it's the DuPont, the Gettys, the what you call it, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, whatever they want to call themselves, royalties. It's all for the maintenance of our people, man, the Israelites, man. It don't matter if they're the Al Sauds, all the way there in Arabia, the Japanese, the so-called Chinese Communist Party, all those riches they've amassed over centuries and decades, man. It's just for our people, man. That's just how it is. That's what the Lord is gonna make happen. All right. So when you see all those wealthy people, having a wonderful time, enjoying their lavish lifestyle, owning basketball teams, baseball teams, hockey teams, football teams, soccer teams, owning all these resorts, investment banks, gold mines, diamond mines, cruise lines. All their wealth is to be earmarked for the poor. That's exactly what the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai is gonna hand over to his elect. All right, and that's just the easy way of saying it, man. It's just for the elect that get delivered from the chaos in these last days. So the book of Proverbs chapter 27, it's like Job chapter 27, verse 16 and 17. It says, though he heap up silver as the dust, and prepare raiment as the clay, he may prepare it, but the just shall put it on, and the innocent shall divide the silver. So that's just the conclusion of the whole matter. When the nation, the nation of East Edomites, spend their whole existence fighting after the treasures of this world, living carnally, colonizing land, looking for treasures, looking for the best agricultural lands, the best geographical region with the best temperature, all that stuff, with all the beautiful wildlife. They don't understand that, it's a waste of time, and that's the lowest level of reasoning of the flesh when it comes to living on the earth. But when you focus on the spiritual, you focus on the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shema Shai, then you begin to understand that you know what the real riches, the real treasures are the words of the Lord. And Esau cannot inherit that. That's one thing that the Lord never allowed the East Edomites to do. They never had an opportunity to inherit the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's the ultimate inheritance that we can always count on, man. Because all these things you see physically, they're really nothing when it comes to the words of the Lord. All right. So that's why Esau has problems, man. He doesn't have access to that spiritual inheritance, the word of the Lord. He doesn't have access to it. He doesn't have the signature to it. It wasn't written into the lineage of the benefactors. All right. So it's just the way the Lord has set things up as an example about what happens when you live according to the flesh. You begin to struggle against thy maker. So that's why Esau has problems, man. He's always fighting against his maker, always resisting the spirit. All right. So final precept will be from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 17. And it says, for I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord. All right, so our people are so heartbroken, they're sad and upset, man. Dealing with all the chaos of Esau's society, of Esau's rulership, because they call thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. All right, so just remember that, man. Although we are at the bottom, we still hold our heads high, looking towards Bashim Shai, Bashim Kakadash, to give us that courage, that faith to believe on his words, and to know that we can handle, we can handle the persecution, we can handle the oppression, by focusing on his words of meekness, his words of life. Because Esau's system drains the soul of our people, man. That's the reason why we need a better system that brings life to our spirit. So that was the point of this lesson. Don't let this government shutdown shake you to the core. Esau's government can shut down, but the Most High's government is not going to shut down. Yahweh government shall not shut down. You know, that's why it's called Amnawa Allah. The Lord is always with us. So, you just have to be faithful, be sincere, and, apply the lessons you learn from the scriptures. Shalom.